One of my favorite pictures. It was one of my very first reality wrestling events that I was part of. I think we were filming some stuff. It was pretty early on in the reality wrestling journey. I just returned to Booker T after a bit of a hiatus. Honestly, it was probably one of the driving forces for me to even want to return to the ring during the time where my career was in doubt. And I kind of said if I could get back in the ring that I would, one of my goals was to return to Booker T. Especially once I heard about the reality wrestling thing. I kind of heard about it in its infancy right before they rebranded. In actuality, me and Justin probably has some footage of me and Booker having a conversation about the rebranding. We were going to put it on future behind the curtain episode. Never happened. But I think about that picture, a lot of those faces that are still part of the company, and I think about the big announcement that took place earlier this week. To think that we'll be on the CW 39 starting September 20th, 11 a.m. Great time slot. Just phenomenal. You know, hearing that news was awesome in itself, but the truth is that we've been on television, The Cube, for a little over a year, and we've almost 2, yeah. And you know, we were part of a national show at one point. Got quite a YouTube following, so the TV's huge. It's a big thing, a great step in the right direction. But I think even bigger news is the building, the world headquarters, the quote-unquote performance center for reality wrestling. I mean, a building that you can train and perform out of in a phenomenal space. I haven't been there yet, but I've heard nothing but good things. Kind of seen some of the layout, talked to some of the guys to kind of get their feedback on it. Hope to be taking a tour of it here in the near future. Man, a great time to be part of reality wrestling and a great time to be a fan of it because it's just got such positive momentum. Hats off to everybody who's part of it, who's been a part of it, who's supported it. You know, a special thank you to Booker and Charmel for all the hard work that they've put in, the tireless hours to promote reality wrestling and make it the brand that it's become. And you know, special thanks to everyone who's involved, from the staff to the talent to production, everyone involved. Speaking of which, Bruce Pritchard, who is a part of reality wrestling, part of creative, man, I think that guy worked alongside Vince McMahon, and now he's working with us. It's just always an honor to have him be part of this and to pick his brain when it comes to this, you know, the performance aspect of this business. So yeah, he actually was on Ric Flair's podcast. Very good listen, phenomenal listen, and not the only thing to listen to as far as podcasts. I mean, Austin's, you know, he had Vampiro Part 2, and I thought that was really revealing. I really enjoyed it. Enjoyed hearing that interview. I also enjoyed hearing his interview with X-Pac. I think, you know, X-Pac's, I wouldn't say he's underrated, but he is underrated to some degree. I don't think a lot of people give him enough credit. He's got a great mind for the business and has done quite a bit here. I mean, quite a bit in the business. But Austin has some great guests. I think, you know, Taz has also been having some good guests. But I really like his take on stuff. I mean, he had, you know, like he had Gail Kim on his podcast a while back, but I finally got to listen to it, and I was really interested in her take on things. Now I should, when you bring up tragic news, I am saddened before I continue with this. Gladys Larson passed away yesterday. I'm filming this on Saturday. It, won't be released till Sunday, but for those who don't know, super fan in essence at PCW for a number of years. I mean, she was always at the shows, every show. I can't really think of a show where she wasn't there. Seemingly she was at every show. And the truth is, when I was booking Uncut, I would use her as kind of a gauge if a character was connecting with the fans. And I would tell the guys, and the gals that if you couldn't get Gladys to react, you were doing something wrong. You wouldn't necessarily even have to like point her out. You would just have to know. And man, I'm just shocked by that news. I got that text yesterday and still in shock. I mean, anybody passing who's part of the wrestling family, it's tragic, man. You hate to hear about that. So my condolences go out to her family, Christina and the rest of them. Everyone's in my prayers. So, such a bummer. Now, how do you transition, especially if you're going to talk about what's coming up? Oh yeah, one other podcast, now that I'm trying to get back into the mindset of putting this out, was Jericho. He had the last, the finalist for Tough Enough. I want to say Tough Enough's going to be the next topic. It'll probably be what I'll talk about next week. As I mentioned on Facebook and Twitter, yeah, Facebook and Twitter mainly. I will try to be putting out a show every Sunday. That's my goal, at least for the foreseeable future. And I'll try to let people know what the topic is. If I don't have a topic, then I'll probably do like a Q&A, I don't know. I signed up for Periscope, so I have an account with them. If you follow me on Twitter, you can access me on there. But I'll probably wait a little bit before I put out something. But I kind of see I do see the benefit in putting out stuff where you can kind of get an immediate reaction. I don't know, maybe I'll do kind of a cross video where I will do my first Q&A, but I'll also film it for YouTube. I don't know, but it's an idea that I'm thinking. I don't know, I might, but I've got to get more followers. I've only got a handful, so I don't know. I might do, it really kind of lends itself to doing kind of like live reviews, or as I watch it kind of reviews, I think. But speaking of my videos, my next one will probably be about Tough Enough. They'll have the finals Tuesday, and we'll go from there. I'll give you my thoughts on it, my opinions about it, much like I'm going to give my opinions right now about some other stuff. Trying to think. Now, like I said, I'm filming this on Saturday. So I haven't seen the NXT special. I obviously haven't seen SummerSlam. But the fact that SummerSlam is being hosted by Jon Stewart's phenomenal. The build-up for SummerSlam's been great. There's plenty to like. The 4-hour show, wow, that's amazing. The fact that they're going to have in one building over the span of 3 days, like, let's see, they're probably going to have like 12 hours, maybe longer, of wrestling footage from one place in 3 days. It's all sold out, by the way. Wow, that is crazy. The fact that SportsCenter, I'm going to definitely watch that. SportsCenter's emanating from the Barclays Center with Jonathan Coachman. Like, wow, that's nuts. Brock on SportsCenter. I've shared it. I thought that was a pretty solid thing. Like, he does really nice interviews. And it's great that ESPN is willing to talk about wrestling and not kind of chuckle about it, or that I can see. There seems to be a certain level of respect. Man, I may talk about some of that next week, my thoughts about it. I'm very much looking forward to all the shows, viewing them and whatnot. I know Sam is excited about NXT, so that should be great. I'm really looking forward to what they do over the next couple of airings for NXT. Raw, pretty quickly. I really thought John Cena's promo was brilliant. Now, for those that... Here's the thing. This is the thing that I don't get. If you're truly not a fan of John Cena, you know, and it's not just that you like chanting Cena sucks. Here's my advice to you. If you really were wanting a change, why don't you chant for his opponent? Because as long as he consistently gets out reactioned, well, as long as he continues to out-reaction people, as long as anytime anyone else is in there and all people are chanting, oh, let's go Cena, Cena sucks. Even if it was like, let's go Cena, let's go Rollins. Like if it was something like that and it was consistent. There have been only a handful of occasions where someone else's name has been chanted. Like Punk to a degree, Bryan because of the yes chant, but no one else. And I think as long as that's the case, he will continue to be in or around, or for all intents and purposes, the main guy. Not that I have a problem with it, because he gets the biggest reaction. You could say, oh, someone gets a bigger reaction, but the truth is that when he is out there, he being John Cena, no one seems to want to chant for somebody else. So, I don't know. You know, I think that's kind of crazy. But that's just my thought about it. So in essence, until that happens, the future is on pause. You can't move on to the next guy. So if there's another guy out there, if Kevin Owens is your guy, or Cesaro's your guy, or Rollins is your guy, Reigns is your guy, or Ambrose is your guy, Bray Wyatt's your guy, or whoever that guy might be, if they ever get the opportunity to be in a ring with John, and you want the WWE brass to know that you think this is the next guy, then my advice to you is to chant for said guy. Speaking of which, chanting. Tough. I gotta admit, I've liked the Divas Revolution. I think it's a great thing. It's only a matter of time, I believe, before you get to see each woman in kind of their own spotlight. At this point, it's a team thing, but I like it because it's strength in numbers, and it's a good showcase for everybody. Everybody has a chance to succeed as opposed to be thrown out there to fail. So I like the approach. What I didn't like was the fans chanting for Lesnar. Now I understand you're in Lesnar's home state, hometown, where he's made a lot of, and it's a big deal, homecoming and all of that, and I get it. But don't do it at the expense of like a Sasha Banks who's relatively new, really trying to find her way within the WWE structure, and honestly, a great talent in her own right. And Nikki Bella, and people can say what they want about Nikki Bella or the Bellas, or what she is indicative of, and to some degree she gets, you know, hate. I don't say equivalent of John Cena, but they are dating, so it would only be right and karma, like if she got the same amount of reaction. But the truth is, like, don't chant for Lesnar. You know this match is going to end pretty shortly. I mean, they were going at a good clip. I just, man, it felt bad. Because again, as much as people want change, they're still stuck in their ways. So, hey man, give divas a chance and chant for them. Don't, you know, because again, the brass will hear this and go, oh, man, they're just not getting the reaction. The hope is that they don't knee-jerk and that they actually do allow the revolution to continue, because I think it's a phenomenal thing. I think it's good business. And the women are getting their time and they're knocking it out the park, and that's all you can hope for. So, yes, Mick Foley concurred with me, by the way. He's the one who brought it up. But again, I was kind of taken aback. One last thing I will say. When a Lords of Darkness t-shirt comes out, I will be purchasing one. Because I am, for one, a fan of it. Stardust goes without saying. I'm a huge fan of him. I love the fact that he remains Stardust throughout everything. That he's never straying from being Stardust. And I really am enjoying the Cosmic King Barrett. I like that. The whole, like, the presentation of the big jacket. Like, I think that match is going to surprise some people. You got Green Arrow. Green Arrow and Neville. It's like a superhero thing, man. It's, in some ways, it's very, I'm jealous because they're kind of putting this comic book spin on it, and I'm really enjoying it. So, I'm also really enjoying Dalton Castle from ROH. If you don't want to watch ROH or not a fan, all I would say is look up Dalton Castle and just watch his entrance. His entrance alone is worth just the view. So, yes. Now, on to the topic of this video, which is the title, which is, by and large, a great company. A brand new company, and they're doing some very unique stuff. So, I first heard about it when El Rey kind of started, and that's where I heard about El Rey, although I'd heard about, like, From Dusk Till Dawn, and that it was Robert Rodriguez's television company, our network, and that he was going to have a hand in Lucha Underground, and then you were going to get Mark Burnett, and you were going to have some former WWE writers, and a lot of this stuff, and it was going to be something new, and the fact that it was on El Rey, and it was called Lucha Underground, it kind of piqued my interest. And I liked it initially. I liked the idea of Dario Cueto and this temple and warriors and, you know, fighting for honor and this, that, and the other, and kind of the way they presented it initially. And I watched it initially online. I didn't have the El Rey Network. In fact, I didn't get the El Rey Network until, like, May. So I watched the first few online, and then I found out that they would show a Spanish version, and I watched a few of those, and then there was a period where I fell off, like midway. And then, like I said, when I did get the El Rey Network, I started watching a lot of the stuff, because at one point they would just kind of rebroadcast older episodes, you know, leading up to the current episode. So I got to catch it. Now, I really liked just the concept, how they kind of brought it about. So what I figured I'd do is, as opposed to give kind of this overall, I'll talk about Ultima Lucha 1 and 2, parts 1 and 2, and kind of how that will relate to my review. So let's look at it. I will say this. I do like what they do on social media. I also like what they do on YouTube. The highlights, again, a lot of the social media aspect, I really enjoy it. They do it really well. You know, like highlights and the kind of some sit-down stuff, and just that they, you know, just the way they do stuff. So, Ultima Lucha 1, I think it had 3 matches. Cage and Mac, kind of a solid Falls Count Anywhere match. It was pretty cool. Like, I like Mac's stunner. I really enjoyed how they built up Cage over a period of time. Mac, not so much, because Mac kind of really had just kind of gotten started. But the way he really got noticed is by beating Cage and pinning Cage, and Cage was again built like this machine, or the machine. I really enjoyed what I saw from him, and the fact that he only lost twice during that season, and the fact that the only reason I'm really talking about them in kind of a review platform is because it's the end of season 1. You know, they're on hiatus at this point, and we'll get into that in a second. But I really liked the Stone Cold Stunner stuff, complete with the beer. I thought that was a really good touch. I really popped for that. So yeah, I was fine with the way they went about it. I think Cage is one of those guys that they could really keep moving forward. Now, Mac, well, it'll be kind of a wait and see, in my opinion. You know, I think there's a lot you can do with Cage. But again, Mac is he hasn't, you know, hasn't resonated with me yet. Cage, to a degree, I just liked it, especially when he tore the belt during the season. I mean, anybody could tear a title belt. That's pretty big, pretty cool. Next was the Trios Championship. Really like the idea of the Trios Championship. It's rare. I mean, I know Shikara does it, and it's really not done very often. I would have loved to have done like a Trios thing. Whether it be, I think at IWE I wanted eventually to do like a 6-man type of thing. So the Trios Championship, I liked it. The champions going into it were on Helico, Ivelisse, and Son of Havoc. I gotta say this about Son of Havoc. When I first saw him, I thought he was delirious. The character from ROH. Didn't know that it was Matt Cross. Mind you, this is the same Matt Cross who got eliminated from Tough Enough the last season that they had prior to this previous season, and he was like, we thought it was a foregone conclusion that he was going to win because who he is, his indie impact and whatnot. Excuse me. So, really impressed with Angelico all year, and I liked Ivelisse. Even though she had a broken leg most of it, I thought it added to the drama of their title reign. And they were taking on the Disciples of Death. Now, I will say this about Lucha Underground, that one aspect that I really liked, but it was one of those things where they gradually brought it to the forefront. The supernatural aspect, having Katrina out there with this rock, her interactions with actually the Trios champions leading up to the match, and how she would call for the Disciples of Death, and how they would appear like out of thin air, in essence, through this fog. I thought that was such a great touch, and I really enjoyed it. Now, one last thing about Son of Havoc. I really enjoyed his work through this, character-wise. I thought, man, the way that the crowd got with him, I thought that was great. I just really enjoyed it, man. The lick of death, all of it. It's just awesome. Next up, Drago and Hernandez. Now, Hernandez is a friend of mine. We don't talk as often as we used to, but well, I still consider him a pretty good friend, and I was really happy for him that he got on Lucha Underground. I really wish he was more than a one-dimensional character, because that's what it felt like to me. No offense to him, that's just how it felt like to me. That's how he came across. Now, obviously, people know probably one of the only hiccups was that TNA used him for a bit, and that caused some issues. In fact, MVP no longer works for TNA, in large part because of the Hernandez thing. And again, he felt somewhat one-dimensional. Now, I liked the stipulation and the build-up for the match, and I really enjoyed Drago and his mask and all that. I really liked what they did with him. I liked that the mask, not since Muda's like demon masks have I been impressed by masks. Nah, take that back. God, and I can't, his name escapes me right now, but there was another mask guy that had this really cool mask. But I really liked Drago. Again, the match didn't resonate with me as much as I'd hoped. So next, part 2, Johnny Mundo. Really have enjoyed his progression, his evolution as a performer. Really enjoyed him. Always thought he was a star on the rise at WWE, and he really got a chance to kind of showcase his stuff. Specifically, like in those, again, the backstage vignettes, I think really worked for him. They worked for Lucha Underground. That the idea of it being, I remember there was one early on where he's trying to go up to Dario Cueto, and he's in this hallway, and he's kind of got to go through some henchmen, and just how they did it, and his athleticism and all that, great. And the fact how he turned heel, I thought was phenomenal, especially the fact that we got to see Alberto El Patron, another guy from WWE that you thought, man, on the cusp, and could have really been one of the, I mean, he had opportunity, and the fact that he had left the company, and the way he left the company, and how he debuted, and this place kind of high profile, and I thought these two really had some great chemistry throughout, even throughout the story. And the fact that you bring in Melina at the end of it, great, and you play off their history together. The only thing you wish is that Joey Mercury didn't work for WWE and he could come in. But he does, so that's never going to happen. But again, really enjoyed it. Now, probably out of all the matches, my favorite one was next. Favorite one as far as story. Their story outdid everyone else's story. I'm talking about Pentagon Jr. versus Vampiro. Now, I faced Vampiro, and I mentioned him about his stuff on the Stone Cold podcast, and I do hold the victory over him, but we're not talking about that because that's ancient history. We're talking about Lucha Underground, the fact that he was a commentator, the fact that he kind of, you got this Pentagon Jr. who is sacrificing warriors or, you know, wrestlers to his master, and who the hell is his master? And then you got Vampiro playing reluctant hero because he's in the commentary booth and his time has come and gone, and he's going by his real name, Ian, and this, that, and the other, and the whole build-up to it. And the match itself was, I like hardcore matches, but they've kind of become, especially with ECW and everything else, and then you look at certain companies and that's all they focus on, it kind of loses the gravity of what's going on. But not in this match. It was well done. Every aspect of what they used really told a phenomenal story. And what was even more phenomenal was the way it ended. The swerve, the fact that the guy he's facing, the guy that he's sacrificing, the guy that gets this win over, Pentagon Jr., the guy he's sacrificing is in actuality the master. And what a beautiful story. The student beats the master, the student beats the teacher. I thought it was phenomenal. It was one of my favorite. So yeah, I was truly blown away by it. The next one was the Gift of the Gods match. I like the concept. The idea that you're fighting for these medallions. It added some gravitas to those matches. Nothing's worse than two guys just facing each other for the sake of facing each other. Or two talents facing each other for nothing, but just to face each other for pride or whatever have you. But the medallions really worked. This idea of kind of a Money in the Bank type of thing, with the stipulation that you had to give Dario Cueto at least a week's notice, which I think is smart, because it sets itself apart. Not to be outdone by the belt itself. I think the belt is a phenomenal piece of championship material, and should be worn with pride. Hopefully they'll have it defended. I don't know. Like, I just think it's interesting, because when they cash it in, whether they win or lose, then it gets separated again maybe. That would be a great idea and be kind of this ongoing thing for future seasons, because I think there will be future seasons. At least another one, maybe his third. We'll see. We'll see. But I will say this. You had Phoenix, who was the winner, and his story I kind of liked. I liked it because it's Phoenix. He rises from the ashes. Aerostar, him and Drago got a thing. I thought that was cool. Bengala, Big Rick, King Cuerno, Jack Evans, Sexy Star. Now here's the thing, and I'm not the only one. When it comes to intergender stuff, I'm kind of on the fence, but I lean more towards the traditional stuff. Don't get me wrong. I like action movies where I enjoyed Buffy, I enjoyed Firefly, I enjoy situations where a woman showcases that she's more powerful than a man, or Black Widow, part of the Avengers, or Wonder Woman. I'm really looking forward to that. So I'm a big fan of hers as well, and Supergirl, and Batgirl, and Superwoman, and Batwoman, and the list goes on and on. I'm a big fan of Ronda Rousey, all that. But when it comes to male, females in a ring, I will say this. I have my concerns, because at times the story gets lost. The fact that it is a guy versus girl, like, or a guy versus a man versus a woman. Like, for me, if you forget that there's that story, that dynamic, you forget the main purpose of said match. It shouldn't be two combatants equal. It should be a man versus a woman. It's not a gender sexist thing. It's just that's an element of the story. It's right in front of you. So I don't know. And I'm not the only one. You got Gail Kim. She said it on Taz's podcast. I haven't heard Vita Scott's one yet. I was going to listen to that one. I just ran out of time. But so I'm kind of apprehensive when it comes to man-on-women stuff. But I will say this. Lucha Underground, for the most part, did it fairly well, because they played to Sexy Star's strength. And she was one of the only ones. I mean, you had Eva Lise, and she's in the trio stuff, but again, broken legs, not really as active, but she would show her worth. As far as within the team, and I think Sexy Star held her own. Now, I mean, you had some stuff, the Daivari stuff, Big Rick, maybe that leads to something down the road. I don't know. Maybe I want to see that. I'm not really sure yet. No offense to those two guys, just really didn't resonate with me. Now, Marty the Moth kidnapping Sexy Star and teasing that he's got a sister, that intrigues me. And again, I'm a fan of Sexy Star. I mean, I'm Sexy Steve. Wow, God, what a team. That'd be great. Come on, guys. I'm just saying, Robert. I'm just saying. Just saying. Sexy Steve, Sexy Star. I'm just saying. I mean, you say Steve DeMarco. Oh, my God! But, again, big fan. Sexy Star. Really enjoyed her work over the entire season. I think, for the most part, they did it right with her. One match I didn't care for, and I should have, because I revere Blue Demon Jr., but I really wasn't a fan of it. I understood the story. Got Chavo kind of nudging Blue Demon Jr. about the pride of Mexico and so on and so forth. It just, at the end of the day, I really wasn't into it. And last, but certainly not least, Prince Puma versus Mil Muertes with Katrina. Now, I really enjoyed Mil Muertes, the character, the supernatural aspect of it, the fact that he can be buried in a grave consequences match and come back stronger. I don't get it, but I love it. I love the Disciples of Death, and I love Katrina and her lick of death. And if I ever face Mil Muertes, I will gladly face him if I get a lick of death. I'm just saying. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about him versus Prince Puma. Prince Puma, who's the champion, never spoke, had Conan. I liked the build-up with these two. I liked his title reign, and I thought the right man won. I liked that vision at the end of it. The match was great, but the fact that you had Mil Muertes as the heavyweight champion, and you had the Disciples of Death as a trios champion, and you had Phoenix, who's now the Gift of the Gods champion, who can face Mil Muertes, and you can get that going. And that's one of the things that they left. You got Prince Puma, who was a fighting champion, a very proud champion, potentially coming back for season 2. You don't know. You don't know. That's the beauty of it. We don't know. Again, Sexy Star getting kidnapped by Marty the Moth. You got Johnny Mundo probably wanting revenge. I don't know if he really wants revenge. He did beat Alberto. But again, he's another guy. Star on the rise. Could potentially challenge Mil Muertes. I mean, Melina and Katrina getting involved. That's potential right there. And then Dario Cueto taking Black Lotus and his brother, and you only saw kind of a face, kind of a face shot. It's intriguing what they've got going on, if they have a season 2, which I will get into. So much worked with Lucha Underground. Where they were, where they aired out of, El Rey, it fit the network. The fact that they could put stuff on YouTube, so they had a reach from there. The universe that they created, the rules and boundaries that they created, and how that worked for me. The rules that they set in place, the supernatural aspect, it worked because it is Lucha Libre, just on kind of an American take on it. The backstage vignettes that were actual movies, genius. The sit-down interviews as well. Vampiro, I know had a few, especially with Pentagon Jr. I thought that one was well done. I thought Vampiro's spot in that place, and now that he's the master, and you got him and Pentagon Jr., you can only imagine what those two are going to do. But again, it's great all around. The truth that they're a 1-hour show works. The fact that they're new works. I even think the fact that they have seasons works, because it's not normally done. No one else really tries to think of doing that. The idea, it's kind of foreign to everybody else. I mean, anybody who runs a wrestling promotion thinks, oh, there is no off season. Well, they're just showing you that there's potentially an off season. I like the Netflix possibility. I would say, man, if they put the first season on there, that's going to be great. It's going to be further exposure, and who knows, maybe they make enough money that they can continue to have the production value that they have now. The production value is what really sets them apart as well. Just, it works for what they do. Now, if they have to cut corners here or there, as long as it doesn't destroy the universe that they've built, I don't necessarily see a problem with it. And again, they could go a different type of route with Lucha Underground, especially if they change venues, like Dario Cueto said. I mean, it'd be great if they were in Austin, Texas, or Houston. I'm just saying, but, I mean in Austin, because, I mean, come on, give me a reason to go to Austin. Just to check it out. Not saying I'd join them, but however, if they offered, I don't know, Steve DeMarco, Sexy Steve, Sexy Star, she needs somebody to battle Marty the Mouth. I'm just saying, man, just saying, especially if you got it in, we're good. But really, what I really enjoyed were the characters. The ones that resonated with me. I didn't care about their alter ego. I didn't care about their secret identity. I think if I lived in Gotham, I'd be like, I don't care who Batman is. I'm just glad we got him. Or if I lived in New York and I had Spider-Man swinging around, I don't care. I don't care what your name is. When you're not in the costume, it's cool. Same thing with these guys. I didn't want to know, I didn't care who Son of Havoc was as far as when he took the mask off. Didn't really appeal, it didn't really concern me. Although I will say this, I really like, there was one picture I think Matt had released where it was him and Prince Puma in their masks driving to a venue, I think. And I didn't even know that that was Ricochet. I hadn't seen Ricochet's work. I saw him after I started watching Lucha Underground, and I was like, oh, wow, all right. But I didn't care. I didn't care. I don't care who the Disciples of Death are. I don't care who Mil Muertes is. They are phenomenal characters on the show, and I think as long as they continue to do what they're doing, I think they'll have success in future seasons. Nearly 40 episodes or 40 hours. Phenomenal first 40 hours. I hope they do some more merch, and I definitely hope, especially if specific characters, I think would be phenomenal business, as well as a video game. They put out a video game on PS4, a Lucha Underground video game, and it was something good. I mean, like good, like it was more than just wrestling matches, like maybe that you'd see them out of the element. I think that would be kind of cool. Maybe like a Tekken meets WWE 2K, maybe something like that. That'd be kind of interesting. So yeah, I think that's it. I don't have much else. I didn't get any questions this week, so all good. Now, like I mentioned, next week I'll discuss Tough Enough. That'll be my thing. I'll break it down, what I thought. I don't know how surprised you'll be. I try to see the positives of everything, so obviously I'm going to look at it from a positive standpoint. But yeah, and I'll probably talk a little bit about WWE invading Brooklyn. I'm really looking forward to discussing that and seeing those shows. So be on the lookout for that. Again, go to Reality Wrestling to get more details about upcoming shows. September 12th, I believe, will still be in Clear Lake, but September 20th, 11 a.m. on CW39. And I'll be honest, people, you watch that, it will only help the product expand even further. And just think about it to other markets. And honestly, if you have not seen a reality wrestling show, go on YouTube, go to the website, download the app. You know the drill. Now I can say follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Periscope. Don't forget, I might do a live Q&A, but on you, I don't know yet. Still trying to work that out. But for the next video, Tough Enough, like I mentioned. But, as I always say, and as I always like to end these, stay cool, stay sexy, stay classy. But, hey, tell other people to subscribe and watch this show because I enjoy doing it so much. And if you do that, then you definitely are cool, sexy, and classy. But until the next time,